What's up guys, this is Bryce with Dust Runner's Automotive Journal, and today we're going to talk about the RB26 versus the 2JZ. When you're talking about Japanese engines, the RB26 and 2JZ always seem to pop up in the conversation. Ever since Fast and Furious came out in 2001, the R34 GTR and the Mark IV Supra have become internet sensations, and so have the engines inside of them. There are countless videos on YouTube of both engines making well over 1,000 horsepower. But the question always seems to come up, which one is actually better? In this short video we're going to cover stock versus stock, modified versus modified, engine strength, and parts availability. The RB engine family consists of inline-six engines, ranging from 2-liter to 3-liter. All of these engines came with slightly different dressings, some naturally aspirated, some single turbocharged, and some twin turbocharged. In this video, however, we're talking about the RB26 DETT, which is the top-of-the-line engine equipped in the Skyline GTR. The RB26 comes with an 86mm bore and a 73.7mm stroke, and advanced features such as independent throttle bodies. The RB26 also uses parallel T28 ceramic turbochargers, which are limited to 14 psi of boost. This engine was rated at 280 horsepower and 293 foot-pounds, but stock dyno runs show that it makes closer to 327 horsepower. Just like the RB26, the 2JZ has an 86mm bore, but steps up the stroke from 73.7 to 86mm. This is where that extra 0.4 liters of displacement comes from. Unlike the RB26, the 2JZ came with a sequential turbo setup, meaning it has a much broader power band. All of this produced an advertised 280 horsepower and 320 foot-pounds of torque. Stock dyno testing, however, shows the 2JZ GTE actually makes closer to 320 horsepower. Here are some dyno graphs for a stock 2JZ and a stock RB26. They make pretty much the same amount of power, however the 2JZ makes about 30 foot-pounds more torque. This isn't too surprising considering the extra 0.4 liters of displacement, all of which is extra stroke. But the numbers only tell part of the story. The RB26 has a very linear power curve. It just slowly gains throughout the power band, but it never really peaks or jumps around. This is great because it's easy to predict how much power you're going to have when you get on the throttle at any given RPM. The 2JZ makes peak power 1000 RPM sooner than the RB26, and it also makes more torque at an earlier RPM. This is mostly due to its sequential turbos and extra stroke. The power comes on very early and flattens out. It's not until peak RPMs that it starts to lose power. It's not really a secret that the 2JZ can hold up to crazy amounts of power on stock internals. Unfortunately, Nissan didn't build the RB26 as strongly as Toyota built the 2JZ. The RB26 stock internals can hold up to about 550 to 650 horsepower. The stock block can hold up to around 1000 horsepower. Doing some simple math, this will tell you that the RB26 can hold up to around 211 to 250 horsepower per liter. The 2JZ stock internals, on the other hand, can hold up to 800 horsepower. Stock block is also good for around 1000 horsepower. Once again, doing some simple math, this will show you that the 2JZ is good for around 266 horsepower per liter. So both of these engines can hold up to crazy amounts of horsepower, however the 2JZ can hold up to a little bit more on its stock internals. The RB26 never came into any car in the US, which means that finding parts isn't as simple as just going to an auto store. Since it hasn't picked up as large of a cult following in the US, the aftermarket also isn't as strong. Furthermore, just finding an RB26 engine by itself is a hassle. Most of the times you'll have to import it from Japan. Parts availability has definitely gotten better in the US in the past couple of years, but it still can be difficult to find parts locally. The 2JZ, on the other hand, came in a host of different cars in the US. This means that finding parts is as easy as going to an auto parts store or a local junkyard. The RB26 is pretty rare to see in the US. There are quite a few reasons for this, but regardless, seeing an RB in person is always pretty cool. Furthermore, the RB26 has an arguably better sound. The sound is a little bit higher pitched, but somehow a little bit angrier. Seeing the 2JZ is far more common in the US, go to any local drift event and you'll find way more 2JZ swapped drift cars than RB26 swapped drift cars. In that sense, the 2JZ has almost gotten a little bit boring since it's pretty much everywhere. So to answer the question, which one is better? Well, I think it's pretty clear which is the better engine. Although the RB26 has more advanced features, the 2JZ can hold up to more power, source parts more easily, and is cheaper to buy and build. The RB26, however, is arguably the cooler of the two, mostly due to its rarity in the US. Let us know in the comments which engine you think is better. This is Bryce with Dust Runners Automotive Journal, signing off.